All right, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of The Black Independent. Got a good subject we want to talk about tonight. Before we get started, let's go ahead and send out some tweets and let everybody know that we got things going on tonight. So let me do that real quick. Send out tweets real quick and let everybody know that Black Independent is on. This will also give a chance for everybody to, join into the show. So bear with me a moment as I send out some tweets and let everybody know that we are on the air. All right. All right. Let's do that. So if you're just tuning in, or if you're watching this at a later date, just bear in mind that we're just getting started. Just gonna send out a couple of tweets and let everybody know that we're on live. All right, let's put that in there. Okay. By the way, if you get a chance, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Check out some of our other videos. Leave your comments. And, yeah, just follow along. All right. As you see, today's topic is fear of the other man, but all smoke for the brother man. And this is a topic that other people have talked about, and it came up recently. Again, when people, particularly with the situation that happened in Texas, where people saw the white racist dude beating up on the black woman, and just before that, there was another incident that took place, where people could make some phone calls and get things done as far as stolen chains and getting jumped and all of that. So it came up that people were wondering, well, could the same thing be done in a situation like this, right, or not? So we're going to talk about that a little bit this evening, because it seems like, as the title says, that there's always smoke for the brother man, right? There's always enough smoke to go around for the brother man, but when it comes to the other man, it seems like that same energy isn't there. You may have noticed this growing up, right? You may have noticed this growing up as well, that like with the gangs or whatever, there's always enough smoke for one another, but when it's time to deal with these white racists, it's like nothing. That energy doesn't go that way. And like I said, we've seen this. A lot of us have seen this throughout our lives. You may have seen it growing up, and I don't know if you ever took the time to think about, thought about it, but I have. Because I would observe, and I would always see. This is as I was growing in my consciousness, that I would observe this and see that it always seemed like, as black people, we always got smoke for each other. But when it goes the other way around, that energy just wasn't there, and still isn't there. I mean, maybe the Panthers were the last remnants of that, but after the Panthers got destroyed, it just seems like, that energy was gone. It dissipated. I just think of some incidents as I was growing up in New York City. Right? I grew up in New York, and I would just think of some incidents. I'll give you a couple examples of what I'm saying. Right? I remember I used to be on the track team. Right? Used to be on the track team. We our school was a mixed school. You know, it was white, it was black, it was Latino. Right? I would say we had a good portion, probably of each group represented. The track team was predominantly black, if not all black, right? We had competitions with different schools. Some schools were in white neighborhoods, predominantly white. Occasionally, we have go against a school that was predominantly black. So we had this one track meet where it was a school against a school that was predominantly black. You know, it was just a track meet, just friendly competition. So we go, and before the track meet starts, you know, one of the dudes from the school, you know, comes in the midst of our track team. You know, we were like there on the sidelines or whatever. So he was a spectator. He wasn't even part of the other team, but he was a spectator from that particular school. And the first thing he says when he gets amongst us is like, "Yo, anybody talks shit, you know, he's rushing up on he's gonna rush up on somebody." And to myself, I was like, "Damn, you know, it's just a track meet, man. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody, you know, we're not even here on that type of energy. We here just to compete, and it's a friendly competition." And you know, Neely Fuller talked about this as well. Neely Fuller talked about this, how unfortunately when we get amongst each other, man, we're poisoned. We're poisonous towards each other. And he just came with that type of energy, and it was like, yo, it wasn't even that type of energy. You know, it's just a competition, a friendly sport competition. It wasn't even about that. But again, that's what he was on. He was ready to, you know, he said he's ready to fight somebody. If somebody talk shit, yeah, I'm rushing. And I'm like, you know, it's not like it wasn't even like that. You know what I'm saying? Another incident I remember is we were at our school, back at our school. We were practicing. It was a practice. We were practicing. It was winter time, so we practiced inside the school, right? So the coach had us, you know, running around the hallways of the school after school, right? So sometimes people would hang out after school for whatever reason. Maybe they had detention or some other after school program or whatever. And I remember another incident. It was a new guy from another town, right? From another town. He got transferred to our school. So again, we just chilling, just practicing. Me and the teammates. Again, we were predominantly black, and those of us who were practicing that day, I remember it was a bunch of black guys. Me and my fellow teammates. So dude, I don't know, the new dude in the school from wherever is walking around the school from another town, right? And again, he got smoked for the brother man. Nobody said nothing to him. We just practicing, but he already is like saying like he's ready to scrap with somebody. And I'm like, yo, damn, like what the hell is it? But it's like Neely Fuller talked about, and others have talked about, you know, this self-hatred that we have that has been implanted in us, instilled in us. And I was like, damn, and I knew it. I was like, yo, if the track team, if we were a bunch of white guys, he wouldn't have said nothing to us. He wouldn't have said anything to us. Right? He wouldn't have said anything to us, but he had smoke for us for no reason at all. And like I said, nobody said nothing to him. He just walking the hallways and just, you know, like ready to start some shit over nothing. Right? Over nothing. We hear it in the music. Right? It's always about killing another nigga, shooting another nigga, harming another nigga, doing this to another nigga. Right? Other than back in our days when we had we started to have some consciousness. You know, we had Public Enemy. They didn't talk like that. You know, they had smoke for the other man. Go look at the video when I get to Arizona. You see what I'm talking about, right? Black Steel in an Hour of Chaos. You see what I'm talking about. We had X-Clan, right? You know, so they weren't talking about bringing smoke to the brother man. They were on that real. They was on that real pro-black Black Panther shit, talking about smoke for the other man. You know what I'm saying? But somewhere along the line that changed. Now some people say that it was by design, that, you know, record companies realized that political conscious Afrocentric hip hop was waking us up, and they realized that they had to do something to, you know, turn us back down. So they you know, they shut out those type of rap groups and type of rap music, and only allowed those who were, you know, talking about killing and smoking the other man. Matter of fact, I was watching some video. It was a hip hop summit or hip hop conference or something like that, and a lot of the rappers were saying that that's exactly what happened. They even said that some of the record companies, like they mentioned who they mentioned. They mentioned man, I forgot that dude's name. I forgot his name. Damn, he was with 50 Cent and them. Man, Young Buck. Yeah, that Young Buck had a song that he was gonna pull out. That he was gonna put out. Excuse me. That he was gonna put out about something with the police or whatever. And they said that in the scope or whatever, they scrapped it. They was like, nah, you can't put that out. You can't put that song out. It was something about, you know, I guess about police brutality and all that kind of stuff. And they was like, nah, you can't put that song out because that'll have problems. That'll cause problems for the police. So when I saw that, I thought about that, and they scrapped that song. They wouldn't let them put it out. So I was like, well, wait a minute. So if they realize, so obviously they're aware that certain songs can influence certain ways. So then why won't they stop songs from being put out that talk about violence against, you know, black on black violence? Why won't they stop those songs? If they're willing to stop a song that they felt may cause trouble for police, why won't they stop songs that talk about violence, you know, against blacks, black on black violence? Why won't they stop those songs then? So that to me was a sign that, well, obviously they're aware that the music can influence people to certain ways and certain ways of thinking, and therefore they scrap a song like that, but they allow songs that talk about black on black violence to continue, which means they're aware that that's what it's influencing, right? And in this hip hop summit thing, they talked about how, you know, there's a connection with it all, you know, with the record companies and the prisons and all of that, and it's like it's all part of the plan that, you know, they'll promote the music that promotes criminality and crime and killing your fellow black man and all of that, which then leads to people doing those things, which leads to, you know, the prisons getting criminals that they need to fill those prisons, which they make money, and everybody's making money. The record companies making money, the prisons are making money, right? And everybody else who's in part of the system is making money. So they realize that the music is programming you, but programming you to have smoke for your brother man and not the other man. And we see that, right? The songs today, if they're not mumble rapping bullshit and talking about drugs and lean, they talking about smoking, you know, shooting up or killing or doing harm to another black man. Very rare is there anything conscious other than, you know, Kendrick and J. Cole. Other than that, I can't really call it on anybody else saying anything positive. You know what I mean? Or with a consistent positive message. Not like, at least not like we had in the day. Not like an X-Clan or a Public Enemy where your whole album is about pro-black political consciousness, right? Those days are gone. I can't say anybody has a whole album that's like that. You know what I'm saying? But like that Hip Hop Summit thing said, that this was part of the plan. You know, this was part of the plan to influence and program, because that's what it's doing. The music is just programming you to be, you know, criminals, programming you to stay harming each other. And like I said, you see that in our communities. These young soldiers out there, these young gangsters, man, they could be soldiers. But instead, they go hard on each other. Right? I checked this out. I even saw this. Some of you may remember this. I remember sometime, I think it was sometime last year, Meek Mill said something in one of his songs, right? He said something in one of his songs. And Trick Daddy from Florida was upset about it, claiming that, you know, he was the original ones who started whatever Meek Mill talked. I don't know. I think he talked about, you know, the jewelry and the yachts and all that stuff like that. So Trick Daddy was saying that he's the one that originally that was him and his people or something like that. So he was like, if Meek Mill, you know, has to come to Florida and he has to, you know, pay respects or whatever, and because if he doesn't, he won't be allowed to come through. You know, and some people question that, was like, well, wait a minute, how are you putting, you know, how are you putting that kind of restrictions on Meek, but George Zimmerman is still walking around freely, right? George Zimmerman is walking around freely, but you restricting other black men from coming to your state, that they got to check in, and if not, they're going to have trouble. But George Zimmerman can walk around freely without, you know what I'm saying, without nobody doing nothing or saying anything to him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's wild. Then there was some other beef that I saw too. Some other, I don't remember who they were, some other Florida rappers had beef with somebody. Right? Was it Kodak Black? I don't know. I don't remember if it was Kodak Black. But some Florida rappers had some problem with another rapper. Same thing, and it was the same thing. You can't come through. If you come through, you're gonna catch it. You better watch it. So I'm like, well, damn. But again, but George Zimmerman is walking around freely. White racist bigot walking around, killed a black man, got off, but none of you gangsters is putting restrictions on him. Right? None of you so-called gangsters is putting restrictions and no-fly zones on him or people like that. Because again, that's just what it seems like. We fear the other man, but you got all smoke for your brother man, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is because it's interesting that when it comes to this gangster shit, right? These gangsters, it seems like they don't care about the law, right? They're not afraid to do whatever it takes to harm another black man. You're not afraid of the law. You're not afraid of getting arrested or whatever to do what you want to do to another black man. So that's why I'm looking. I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you're not afraid to run up on the rival gang and bust shots, or run up on whoever did whatever to you to bust shots, like the guys who killed Triple X Station, right? Clearly didn't care. They did what they had to do. But again, George Zimmerman is walking around. That baffles me. And others have talked about this too. Like how you don't give a damn to do harm to another brother. You're not afraid of the law. You're not afraid of getting arrested, going to jail. You're not afraid of none of that when it comes to harming your fellow black man. But when it comes to these white racists who have harmed our people, you don't got no smoke that way, right? That's just really interesting. That's just real interesting. And so what is it? What is it? What is this fear that has been instilled into us? Like I said, maybe the Black Panthers were the last remnants of that. After that, the generations after that just really didn't, we lost it. Was the fear instilled in us because of what we saw? Was that the plan? To instill fear in us, future generations, to know not to become revolutionaries, not to, discourage you from becoming the next Malcolm X, the next Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale. For those who don't know, those are the leaders of the original Black Panthers, right? So we saw them get killed. Even being a Martin Luther King, discourage you from even being a Martin Luther King. The leaders were killed. The groups, the organizations were destroyed. Was that instilled in us from then? Because it's just very interesting. Like I said, I noticed it growing up in New York. I saw it, and I'm sure you guys have seen it where you come from, right? Seen it growing up in L.A., in the L.A. gangs or whatever. You've seen it. Because we heard the stories about what was going on over there, all the way over here. We heard the stories. And I used to wonder about it even then. I used to wonder about that too. Right? I used to wonder about that too. It's like, how is it that, these gangs don't seem to, they don't really give a damn about busting at each other. But when it comes to dealing with white supremacy, it's like white supremacy gets a pass. So it's really interesting. It's at the same time it's sad, but we understand that it's by design, and it's time that we change that design. It's time that design is changed. Because of course this has been said before, that this is just destroying, it's just destroying our community and destroying one another. if that energy could be channeled in a better direction, those communities could be safer. Those communities could be fixed up. And perhaps we could get some respect and stop being walked over, as is currently the situation. You know, like I said, when I saw that video of that happened in Texas with the woman getting punched up, that dude was clearly trying to knock her out. He was clearly trying to knock her out. And I've seen enough videos to see that a lot of these white racists, they don't, you know, they don't see us as humans at all. Because we've seen them abuse our elderly. They've abused our youth. They've abused our women. And it's like Malcolm X said. Look at Malcolm X's speech about when he talks about protecting the black woman. And how, you know, she's not being protected. And I get it. I also get the other side of it. There's a movement on YouTube where a lot of, you know, people want to talk about black women and the attitude and, you know, this BS about the independence. And I get that part of it. I get that part of it. There is that. There is that. But still, at the same time, you know, there are some sisters out there who are not like that. And regardless of how you look at it, it's still showing that, you know, there's no respect for our women, nor us. Because as Malcolm had said, if they respected us, they wouldn't treat our women like that, right? Because we know what they would do for their women, especially back in the days, right? We know what they would do for their women. They had the law where you couldn't even look at a white woman, right? We couldn't even look at a white woman, and if you did, there'd be trouble. So they put their woman up on the pedestal and made it known that if you disrespect her or whatever in any kind of way, there could be trouble for you. Clearly, the opposite is for us, where they realize that, you know, they disrespect our women because why? And not only our women, but us too, our women, us, our children, our elderly, clearly fearing no consequences. Clearly fearing no consequences for doing such. Which means that they obviously view us as punks, right? They obviously view us as punks. They're basically saying, you know, we know you're not going to do nothing. You're punks. You're beneath us. So you all can be targets. They just see us as black things, right? Because it's funny how, like, they always want to talk about, like, for example, women treatment, right? How they like to talk about the Middle East and how the Arabs treat their women over there and all that kind of nonsense like that. So they get, so you get the impression that, oh, okay, they feel that treating women like that is bad. But then they turn around and treat our women like that. They're beating up on our women. They're abusing our women. They're pushing our women around. So what does that say? What does that say? Right? It's hypocritical, true. But at the same time, it's saying that what? That they don't see our women, as ladies. Right? They don't see our women as ladies to be, you know, to be treated properly, to not be treated that way. Instead, they see them to be pushed around, beat up, and abused. And clearly they feel that obviously the black man, you're not going to do anything because you fear the other man. You fear the other man, but you got a lot of smoke for the brother man. That needs to change, or we will continue to be pushed around. And you know, and not only here, but this is happening all over the world. We've seen videos in parts of Africa where, you know, you got white racists over there smacking people, and oh man, it's sad. Some of those videos are sad to see. Smacking black people, and black people are scared and cowering and down in the corner in the damn fetal position. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all over the world, they feel that they can just walk over us. punking us, man. It's happening in Brazil. Abuse and mistreatment. Pushing and kicking black people around. So not only is it here, but the black man around the world needs to wake up. Needs to wake up. Redirect your energy. Channel that energy that you have, that hatred that you have for, because I think that's what it is. I think that this animosity that we have towards each other is really the anger that we have towards the white racists. But because we've been trained to be in submission to them, to the white racists, that we don't know how to channel it, so we just take it out on each other. In addition to the fact that we've been taught to hate one another. As Malcolm said, who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? It's clear that we have a hatred for one another. But it's not a natural hatred. It's a hatred that we've learned. We've taken on the hatred of the hater, of the original hater, who what he has for us, and we've taken it upon ourselves. So we hate each other because we're hating each. We're looking through his lens. So we hate that color of our skin. Our women hate the texture of their hair, which is why the weaves and the wigs of women's hair that is not like our own is so popular, right? The Russian, the Indian, right? The Malaysian, all these different types of hair textures that is not like our own, but like those of others, because, and let's be honest, that is really just an imitation. You're not, I know you're not, I know our women, you're not trying to be Malaysian, right? You're not trying to be Indonesian or Russian. You really are just trying to imitate the white woman. Let's be honest about it. Because you've been taught to hate your own hair texture. The bleaching that goes on, you hate the texture, the color of your skin. So when you look at one another, that hatred is expressed through the violence that we enact on one another. So that definitely has to change in order for us to progress. But it's interesting, like I said, we have all these groups and gangs out there with much smoke for one another, ready to go at it for another, ready to do another black man in, or another group of black men in. But fear of the other man. Like I said, I'm sure you've heard these stories. I'm sure many of you have heard these stories of, you know, rappers being told that they can't come to whatever city. Excuse me. Right? That they've been told that they can't come to whatever city. They better stay out of this city or that city, or there'll be trouble. But again, we have these killers out there. These white racist killers out there. And yet there's no fly zones. Nobody puts them on a no-fly zone. All those gangsters out there have nothing to say about it. Right? They have nothing to say about it. But they got smoke for the fellow brother, man. It's shameful. It's, to me, that's real weakness right there. If you was really all that gangster, you'd redirect it in the right direction and not at one another. Again, I'm just saying that for you guys, because you're the ones who don't care, right? You're the ones who don't care, right? You're ready to take another black man down, and you don't care about the law at all. But it's interesting. That's the only time when you don't care about the law, is when it comes to doing whatever you got to do to harm another black man. So it's, I mean, like I said, it's just really sad and shameful that this a generation of what could be, you know, young soldiers, young warriors, is wasted on doing harm to your fellow brother man. That's a line too that from Public Enemy Professor Griff had. And what was that? I think that was no, it was Bassheads. That song they had, Night of the Living Bassheads. Yeah, you know. In particular, he was talking about, at that time it was against the drug dealers. That, you selling drugs to the brother man instead of the other man. But the concept still remains, still the same. It still applies. As I said, you got fear of the other man, but all smoke for the brother man. So whoever this message reaches of the young people, I hope you take the time to think about this. Think about the harm that you're doing to one another when you could be preparing for the white racists, because they are out there training. There are militia groups out there. There are white racist militia groups out there training, waiting for the chance to get at us as a people. They're training, man. You young soldiers could be training for the purpose to protect us and protect the community from these people, but you're too busy with all that energy and that smoke to harm one another. So again, I hope this message reaches you and you consider your actions and make the right decision to turn around your energies and start to look at those who want to do you harm, who are waiting for a chance to take you out. And they don't care about what color clothes you wear. They care about the color. They care about getting at you because of the color of your skin. So wake up, young men. You need to wake up. Stop all this black on black gang bullshit. Wisen up. And be on the lookout for those militia groups and such, white racist groups that actually train with you in mind. When they train, their smoke is for you. They have you in mind. They have you as their target. They see you as their enemy and who they want to get at. And all of us. But your energy is wasted. That energy is wasted because you're directing it at one another. So I'm going to end it with that and just hope that you guys will get the message one day soon. One day soon, not some time away in the future. One day soon, wake up and learn to redirect your energies in a more productive manner. All right? Black Independent, I'm out. Fear of the other man, but all smoke for the brother man. That needs to change.